Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. My name is Purity Wanjiro. I hope everyone is able to hear me clearly from their end. I also hope there's no noise on the background as well, but welcome to this webinar on emotional intelligence. My name is Purity Wanjiro. As I've stated before, I'm the director for Accurex Leadership and Management Consultants Limited. And we're a HR consulting firm. We do a lot of training, like the one we're about to do. We also do team building, coaching, mentorship. We have so many plans for us as an organization, but also to you as our clients. And but for today, we are going to cover the topic of emotional intelligence. We feel because of these unprecedented times, like we need to have a way we can maneuver even how we deal with ourselves, especially how we deal with ourselves. And I hope this is a learning lesson, or you are able to capture something out of this topic that you're going to discuss today. To take us through this particular topic is Dorothy Lavuna. She's a part-time lecturer at the Daystar University. She has also been training with us for almost or over 3 years now. She's an excellent teacher, an excellent trainer. So let us all be keen. Let us tap from her wisdom and her wild experiences as she takes us through this topic. Dorothy, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Purity, please confirm that people can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Very good. So, hi, everyone. I'm going to talk to you today. It's crazy weather. It's very chilly, and we were hoping it would be hot. You know, the stories that people are saying, oh, the corona doesn't like heat. Now see this weather. But it's okay. We plan to roll with the punches. And, you know, at the end of the day, we thank God for everything. As she has said, my name is Dorothy Lavuna. I teach for a living. I teach and I train for a living. It's the same difference. It depends on who you ask. I've trained on various topics. Mainly, we do trainings with Purity at Accurex in the corporate environment. And this topic that we're discussing today, this emotional intelligence, something that it's really being taken seriously, especially in the corporate world. But it is as much as it is being taken seriously in the corporate world right now, as she has said, these are unprecedented times, and people's emotions are all over the place. I mean, everything that has been distracting us before, our jobs, our children, etc., all of those things, especially our jobs, the jam, traffic, all of those things have been put aside. Right now, you are forced to stay home. You're forced to enjoy your own company. Some of us, you're forced to learn to love your significant other in a new way, because now there's no other choice. Before, you would send the kids out to go and play, but now you can't do that. The kids have to stay at home. So the topic we are discussing today is emotional intelligence. As an introduction, allow me to say that I did some research to find out how many other intelligences are there. Up until this point, up until I guess a week ago, I knew of IQ, the IQ, the one for mental intelligence, the one we have grown up knowing, being told either you are intelligent like so and so, like Einstein, ama wewe kichwa yako ni kama sufuria. You know, there's nothing inside. Or then there's social intelligence. Also, social intelligence is your ability to learn how other people operate and how to build your relationships with other people. Then, of course, there's this emotional intelligence. But surprisingly, I came to discover that there are actually about 9 to 10 other types of intelligence. There's spiritual intelligence, there is physical intelligence, your ability to learn your body and to optimize on the ability of your body, among many others. We're not going to discuss those ones. This particular topic, emotional intelligence, we are discussing it because if you don't have your emotions in check, everything else is a mess. You can be the most intelligent person. Your IQ can be the equivalent of some of the smartest people in the world. But if you don't have emotional intelligence, your life is like you'll be taking one step forward and 10 steps back. One step forward, 10 steps back. So let's see, especially in times like this, these are unique times. No one ever imagined. If last year at a time like this, you would have told people that next year, everyone will be in the house because of something as minute as a disease. They would have told you, how many other diseases are there out there? We have dealt with corona, with Ebola, we have dealt with HIV, we have dealt with so many other viruses. No one would have believed, but here we are. And it's causing us to really rethink a lot of things. So as an introduction, well, I've already done the introduction, but as a definition, how do we define emotional intelligence? Purity, if you can go to the next slide. In layman terms, emotional intelligence, or EI, if you have heard of it, is the capability of a person to manage and control their emotions, not just the emotions of not just of themselves, but even the people who are around them. We understand that all of us have emotions. If you don't have emotions, I think you are a rock, or you are something, you're an inanimate object. You don't live and breathe. All of us have emotions. The question is how to manage emotions. For example, we all get angry. We are seeing things on the internet. For example, I'm sure some of you have seen the racist things that are happening in China, and it's upsetting. Seeing other Africans such as ourselves being mistreated for whatever reason. How many years after slavery, racism happening right now? It evokes something. But how you react to those emotions is what now we call emotional intelligence. If you react with anger and you go around saying all the Chinese are all stupid, and you go, hitting them and beating them up, your emotional intelligence level is low. If you understand that each person, each situation is separate, then you realize that you are not supposed to treat everyone. You can't lump everyone all together. So let's see, first of all, on a normal day, without the circumstances which are around, how do you know that you are an emotionally intelligent person? Characteristics of an emotionally intelligent person. Next slide. First of all, one who have on a regular day, during your day-to-day, interactions, if you don't have emotional intelligence, then chances are that at a time like this, when things are thick, you are probably the person who is truly supposed to be in this training. This is for you. But first of all, let's see if there's something in biology. Those ones who studied biology like me, there's something in biology called homeostasis. Homeostasis is your body's ability to regulate to bring your body back to normal, to bring it to a state of stasis, regularity. If you are in a state of homeostasis, then see if you have the following things. If your emotional intelligence is in the level of homeostasis, you are on the regular level, then check if you have these things. If you don't, then the next point is we are going to discuss. So first of all, do you have empathy? If someone else is hurting, are you able to feel for them? Are you able to understand their emotions? Number two, self-awareness. Are you aware of yourself? Do you know the things that make you upset? Do you know the things that push you to do certain things? And we're going to really look at this number two, self-awareness, later on when we'll be discussing how to achieve that level of emotional intelligence. Number three, curiosity. Curiosity meaning you have a healthy level of you question things. It's healthy to question things. The opposite of not being curious is you're indifferent. You don't care. Things are happening. You were ukotu. It's the people are in traffic. You don't care. If someone has died. But if you are in a state of emotional intelligence, you ask questions. You're like, if you see a child being beaten, you'll ask, why is this child being beaten? Is this the true mother? etc. You're not indifferent to what is going on in the world. You are analytical. You analyze things. You have an analytic mind. You have a belief system. And I'm a Christian myself, but a healthy human being ought to have something. This is where spiritual intelligence comes in. Are you aware of a higher being? Are you in reverence of a higher being? Do you understand that not everything is under your control, that there's someone bigger who controls certain things? An emotional intelligent person understands that. Number 6, you understand the difference between needs and want. Right now, I was seeing, just as a quarantine started, there's some people who went on a binge shop. They went binge shopping. In the States, I've seen it's a bit crazy. People are going and they're buying, toilet paper, like enough toilet paper to take you to the year 2030 in the States. And we were laughing at them. However, I've seen some people doing some of the same things. I've seen some people who have gone and bought crates and crates of beer, as if beer is never going to be there again. During this time, or just as an emotional intelligent person, do you understand that there are some things that you need and there are some things that you want? When your budget is down, there are some people who think that alcohol is a need. Some of them are even in this forum. Or no, they're not on this forum. They're outside there. They're walking around. But you see what I mean. There are some people who think, in my house, I always have to have ice cream. That is a need to them. An emotionally intelligent person will sit down and, this is the interesting thing about Nairobians. When you're told that there's a lockdown, or like even towards the post-elections, just as we are approaching the elections, someone in Nairobi will go and stock up on sausages. They'll stock up on sausages. They'll stock up on what else? Just sweet things, chocolates, things like those. An emotionally intelligent person will understand that I have to stay healthy. I should stock up on things such as, vegetables. I should stock up on fruit. I should stock up on water. Things that if indeed they ran out, you would be able to sustain your body in a healthy way as you go forward. Number 7, very quickly, an emotionally intelligent person is passionate. An emotionally intelligent person is optimistic. Hey, Dorothy, many did not seem to understand why toilet paper was bought in bulk. I don't understand it either. I will get back to that question very shortly. As an emotionally intelligent person is passionate. You are someone who finds passion in something. You are passionate about something. Again, the opposite of passionate is what? You're indifferent. You just don't care what is going on. You're seeing the numbers going from, we started out with 1, then we went to 20, then we went to the numbers of the COVID, then we went to 30, then we went, now we're at, the last I checked, we are about 270 patients around there. I could be wrong. Now, if you are an emotionally intelligent person, this should concern you. You should be thinking about, what can I do for myself to make sure that I am safe as myself. You are optimistic, you are adaptable, you adapt to situations easily. You're not the kind of person, if an emergency breaks out, you know what the kind of people I'm talking about. There are some people who, when things go awry, when things go crazy, it's a mess. They run around like chickenless heads, and someone has to actually calm them down and tell them, listen, it's just something I have learned in my few years on earth, by the way, is that nothing is permanent. The only thing that is permanent is death and taxes. You heard that saying. If you are the kind of person who thinks that everything is the end of the world, You are low on emotional intelligence. Number 10, you desire to help others succeed. An emotionally intelligent person wishes the best for other people. You're not jealous when someone else gets a promotion. You're not jealous when someone else has a baby. You're not jealous when you go to, if you're single and you go to the supermarket and you see a couple walking holding hands, you're thinking, there they go, another one bites the dust. Kwani wanajiona wako na nini? You're not jealous when you see someone dressed nice. People compliments. You are full of compliments. Personally, I make it a point every day. Well, right now we're in quarantine, so I'm not really seeing as many people as usual. But generally, if you know me, every single day when I leave the house, especially since I'm also a lecturer, I always make a point of giving someone a compliment, always. And there's a kind of chemical reaction that happens to you when you're that kind of a person. So now, if you don't have at least 7 of these characteristics that I have mentioned, your alarm for emotional intelligence should be going off. If you have one of these, yeah, I think we need to do a few more sessions with you. You actually need to see a psychiatrist. You're not okay. You only have one of these characteristics. You're not. If you have none of them, my goodness, I don't know what to tell you. Again, you need to seek a counselor. You need to seek a psychiatrist. But most people in general, on average, have at least 7 of these. Now, going to the next slide, the purity. What comprises of our emotional intelligence? What is if emotional intelligence was a cake, I personally like cake. I'm a sweet tooth myself. If you are a kind of person who likes cake, who is baking, and I'm seeing a lot of people online. Everyone is baking cakes. Everyone is baking, trying to experiment with new things. If emotional intelligence was a cake, these are the ingredients. Number 1, you have social skills. You have the ability to reach out to other people. How many of you during this time have checked on other people? I'm seeing people online, like a pastor yesterday, and I really appreciated this. This is a pastor who I haven't spoken to in, I think the last time I spoke to him was last year. He sent me a message yesterday and he said, hi, I'm just thinking of you. I know these are tough times. Is there anything I can pray with you for? It made me ask myself, am I checking on people? Am I calling people? Am I asking people if they're okay? That is one component. The second component is self-awareness. And I've said we're going to focus a bit on self-awareness at the next level, where we will see how to build our emotional intelligence. Then self-regulation. Not only are you aware of yourself, you are able to regulate. You know the tics. You know the things that set you off. You know that it sometimes, by the way, there are just certain people who, when you see them, you get irritated. But just because you're getting irritated by seeing them doesn't mean you should lash out and call them names. You have to regulate yourself, your reactions to things. Number 4 is motivation. Are you self-motivated? What is your motivation? What gets you out of bed every day? If your emotional intelligence is low, then your self-motivation is also low. There are some people who right now, actually most of us even here, if I ask you what day of the week it is, you can't tell me. Not to say that is a sign of motivation, but most of us, you've gotten to the point where your life is just you wake up, watch TV, sleep. Wake up, watch TV, sleep. You need to be a bit more motivated than that. Personally, and I feel like someone should pat me on the back and clap for me. During this time of self-quarantine, I realized I am not as a lecturer, I move about and I teach. I'll move from one class, I'll teach, I'll be standing for about 3 hours, and then I'll move to the next class. That's my exercise. Beyond that, I can't really say that there's any other exercise, but it works. It's something that at least helps my blood pump. Right now, I discovered because I'm a bit idle, I have to take steps. So the way you go on YouTube and you find low impact exercises and stuff like that. For the past 2 weeks or so, I've been trying. these bones are not what they used to be, but I've tried to motivate myself. I've tried to think about things that can push me to be a better person than I am. And then there is obviously empathy. All these components, these 5 components, are what create emotional intelligence. If you are exploring your emotional intelligence, you look at these 5 components. Something that I ought to mention before we go to the next slide, this season is causing us to stop. And some people are saying it's a season to reset. One way I've chosen to look at it is God or the universe or whatever, Mother Nature, whatever it is that you believe in your higher power, is either making us rest from all the work that we have been doing, or is making us rest because the work we have ahead of us is a lot. You're hearing a lot of things about the people are talking about how times are tough, that the economy is going to be, and I'm not trying to scare anyone. It's just that all you have to do is open a newspaper and you see, all you have to do is open the newspaper and see, and that things are thick. There are businesses that are going to be shut or already have closed. There are people who are going to lose jobs. This is the time for you to now start thinking outside the box. Personally, I'm actually thinking, what else can I do with myself that will make sure that there'll be a steady stream of money coming in? That in case my day job, quote unquote, is not there, what is going to happen? So this is a time to really reset. An emotionally intelligent person would already know this. Now, that being said, go to the next slide, please, Purity. That being said, what can we do to build our emotional intelligence? How do we practice emotional intelligence? Now, remember the past characteristics that I spoke about. If you are at 1, or you only have 2, or you only have 3. By the way, usually when you go to the corporate world, we usually have we have an assessment. It's a written assessment that we usually use. But obviously, because right now we are at home, I can't give you that assessment. I don't know, maybe I can discuss with Purity. If she's willing, she can share out that assessment that we usually use to gauge your level of emotional intelligence. If
Hi,
not,
Dorothy. I think I've already written on the chat box that if you want access to that test, an EQ test, emotional intelligence test, we can send you after this session. You only have to note down your email on the chat box. Also, maybe one more thing, if you feel like you have any questions during this session, just also write them on the chat box. We will cover it in the last 15 minutes of this presentation. Thank you, Dorothy.
how are we doing on time so far?
We are 23 past, so you have about 20 more minutes to go.
Very good. I think I can work with that. So,
okay,
let us see how to become emotionally intelligent. How can we make our emotions smart? If you were in a classroom, I would have asked you, what's the difference between emotions and a mood? But I will pose that to you. You sit and think about it, and maybe we can discuss it during the 15 minutes question and answer. First of all, in order to become more emotionally intelligent, we need to practice self-awareness. Self-awareness. What is self-awareness? Self-awareness is being aware of your emotions. What are the things that affect your emotions? First of all, there are 5 major things. You can add some of the extra, but the 5 major things that affect our emotions. 1, our environment. Where you live. Is your environment hostile? If you are someone who, for example, lives in Southern Sudan, where it's constantly violent, it'll have an effect on your emotions. You find many people, for example, from places that are war-torn, they tend to be very aggressive. Aggressive, not the word is not even aggressive. They tend to be very angry all the time. you know, those people usually say, ni kama stima, ukimguza, it's like electricity. They're not very friendly. Your environment is one thing that affects your emotion. Number two, your past experiences. If you are the kind of person who was told women should be seen and not heard, you become very docile. You become very quiet. And that's not healthy. Remember, emotional intelligence is not that you don't have the emotions, but you deal with them effectively. So, your past experiences. Number three, your needs, the needs that you have. If you need food right now, there are some people who at some point are probably going to go hungry. Your focus is on food. If you see someone throwing away a banana, you get upset about that. So that is the number three. Number four, that affects our emotions is our chemicals that you ingest. You know, and I started considering this because it is actually possible for you. Like if you're going through depression, they can actually give you antidepressants. And what antidepressants do is they kill your emotions. They make you just there. Whatever it was that was causing you to be happy or sad or whatever, the person is just there. So some people they ingest mood enhancers. They're mood enhancers, like alcohol is a mood enhancer. Drugs are mood enhancers. My biggest concern, well, it's not my biggest concern, but I have a big concern about people who right now are drinking a lot. You know, how long does it take for you to form a habit? A habit forms in 21 days. It takes you 21 days for you to form a habit. Now, you tell me, if every day you have been drinking even just one bottle of Tusker every single day for the past, when did the quarantine start? I think it's been over a month. If for over a month you have been taking a beer every single day, I can promise you, you're not the same person who came into this season. There's something that has changed about you, because alcohol changes your chemical composition. I've said those are four things that affect your emotions. There's the fifth one, and the fifth one I shall mention it at the end as we are about to finish. But those four are the main ones. I have said your needs, your environment, your past experience, the chemicals that you ingest into your body. Maybe another thing that one could mention is your relationships. Your relationships affect your emotions. Yes and no. That is a discussion that maybe we can have later on, towards the end. I don't think it is do your relationships affect your emotions? I think that is it's something, again, that we should pause there and that you should think about. The fifth one I shall mention towards the end. Number two, way of practicing emotional intelligence, channeling your emotions well. We are held up in the house right now. The children are doing some things that you never imagined that they would do. Or your neighbors are doing some things that you never. Last night I had the children, the neighbors. I was even wondering, it's almost 11 o'clock. What are the children next door doing? And they just started screaming in the middle of the night. At some point I thought, are there thugs or something like that? But then later on they started laughing. So I was wondering, okay, what is going on? If there are some people who something as small as that, they would have walked out of the house and they've got something. I have noticed, I don't know if you guys have had this, domestic violence apparently has increased during this time. I don't know if you people have heard about that. There's a lot of domestic violence that has increased. It's because many people don't know how to handle the emotions that they are experiencing. You were used to, you only see your wife in the morning and in the evening for a very short amount of time. Now all of a sudden there she is in your face every day. If you're not emotionally intelligent, someone is, unfortunately, people are getting beaten. In fact, I was even seeing a study where they were saying, I can't give the numbers lest I say something out of turn, but they say that deaths related to domestic violence have increased. This is because many people are not understanding how to channel their emotions. How do you channel your emotions? Finding positive things to occupy your time. Instead of just watching Money Heist the whole day, if you watch Money Heist the whole day, if something happens, you're going to think about where to get a gun. Read books that enhance your emotional stability. Listen to music that is going to build you up, uplifting music. Just before I got onto this webinar, I to calm myself down, I actually listened to some gospel music to just, help me to get the nerves in balance. Number 3, learn to motivate yourself. If you're like many people who are at home by themselves, yes, I think relationships do affect your emotions. For example, if you are around people who are abusive, we tend to, yes, that is very true. I thank you for that. Relationships can affect your emotions. I will come back to that during the question and answer session. What are some of the things that motivate you? What motivates me might not be what motivates someone else. What motivates me, if for example, is seeing my students succeed. I'm constantly checking on my students. I'm constantly on WhatsApp checking, have you received the notes? Are you safe? Are you okay? That's one of the things that motivates me. Seeing my family succeed and doing better, that is another thing that motivates me. Knowing that my family members are going to have a better life tomorrow than it is today. What motivates you? If you have nothing that motivates you, I suggest that you find something. This training, at the end of it, I would hope that people will be able to start reflecting inwardly. Now you have the time. Now you have the time to actually sit and evaluate yourself and evaluate your emotions and question whatever it is that is right and what is wrong, and get things into perspective. Number 4, how to practice emotional intelligence. Recognize emotions in others to create healthier relationships. As much as you can have your emotions under control, there are people who are around you. There are people who don't know how to manage their emotions. Now, you are only responsible for yourself. There is someone who I once had saying something to the effect of, like, if you're driving in Nairobi, drive as if you're the only sane person in Nairobi. That's what someone said. It's the same thing in life. When you go through life, go through it as if you're the only sane person in the world. Don't let other people's emotions affect you, or at the very least, understand people. Remember, at the beginning, we discussed self-awareness, and we said there are 5 factors that main factors that affect the kind of person that you are. That affect your emotions. Understand that those 5 factors, as they're affecting you, they are affecting them as well. And it will help you to balance yourself even more. Then, finally, how to practice emotional intelligence. Infuse your emotions with values. Do you have a value system? What are our values? Values are things that we hold sacred, that are important to us. For example, I value people. I value church, my church community. I value society. I value my country. I'm very patriotic, by the way. When I see that there's looting happening, it affects me. I value have some level of, if you have no degree. I don't know if you guys watched this past week, there's a video that came out that was very controversial by some young boys. I have forgotten what their name is. I think the group is called Epic or something like that. And they came out with a song. Honestly, I listened to the song. I could not make head or tails of what these boys were saying. But apparently, what they were singing about was they were promoting pedophilia, they were promoting sex trafficking. They were still promoting very negative things. And Ezekiel Mutu actually banned it, and the song was banned. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. It was a very, I couldn't understand what they were saying, but from what I was being told, it was a very offensive song. They later even had to apologize. And from what I'm being told, they're going to be, because they had actually sung another song before. I'll come back, Catherine, I'll get back to you shortly. Because they had actually sung another song in the past, which was also just as offensive. I think they're going to either pay a fine or they're going to go to prison. But it's a bit concerning that the kids today don't have values. The value system that I grew up with is not what is in society right now. Values such as respect your elders. Don't talk to your elders as if you're age mates. If you are, the kids today, if you are in a matatu, well, these days people don't stand. But if you're in a matatu and you see an old person standing, and a young person today will not stand for that old. Or I saw the other day people had queued. It was in a banking hall, and there was a pregnant lady, and the security guy actually asked the pregnant lady, please. She was expectant. Please, kuja mbele. He cut the line for her. Do you know there's a man in the line who said, "Kwani ni mimi nilikupatia iyo, I mean, and everyone looked at him like, did you not have a mother? Where are our values? If you don't have a value system, I think it is important for you to reevaluate yourself. This is a good time to evaluate your values. What is important to you? What do you hold sacred? Because they're saying that times are about to get tough financially. What are the things where do you draw the line? There are some people who would sell their own grandmother to get money. Where do you draw the line and say, I cannot allow myself to get to this point? Having those values helps you to balance your emotions and helps you to build your emotional intelligence. These are the 5 key factors that you need to consider. They're very exhaustive each in themselves, but it's a good time. I think this is a good time for you to just take time and reevaluate yourself. I was watching a video. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. He's a guru. He's a motivational speaker. His name is Jay Shetty. You may or may not have heard of him. And he was saying the main cause of anxiety is not being in the present. That one, you're either looking back, regretting the mistakes you made, or you're looking too far ahead, worrying about the future. Right now, because there's not much we can do about the future, there's not much we can do about things going forward, because we are grounded. We have literally been ground to a stop. Are you focusing on today? Are you focusing on the present? What are the good things that are happening right now? Now is the time. I know of a friend who has written 2 books during this time of quarantine. I was actually helping, yes, Jay Shetty, the motivational speaker. I was actually helping him to edit his book. And he's in the process of writing another one. Are you spending time with your children? As irritating as those children might be, not in this group, let's say parents outside there, but as irritating as those children are, there's something good about them. There's something about them that you can enjoy. Learn a new skill. Learn how to, you can only burn a baked cake once. Bake it, burn it, try again. By the time you leave this quarantine, you should be an expert. Who knows? Maybe we shall be ordering cakes from you. Increase yourself intelligently, your intelligence. Read a book, etc. So do some self-evaluation. Focus on the present, and somehow if you focus on the present, and this I'm even telling myself, if I focus somehow on the present, I will be able to strengthen myself for the future going forward. We don't know how things are going to look going forward. We can only hope for the best. We have to be optimistic that things are going to pick up. I am optimistic that this season is going to come to an end, if not a month, or maybe less. I don't know. I saw the other day in the newspaper that there are 7 Kenyans, imagine, who have just been sitting quietly among us, who are working on getting a vaccination. Imagine. They're working on getting a vaccination for coronavirus. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised at all if the solution came from us, from Africa. It's very possible. If there's anyone who has experience with viruses, I think it's Africa. So the solution ought to come from Africa. This thing has caused us to realize that we can't keep relying on going abroad for us to find our solutions. So, and who knows, maybe that person is even in this webinar as we are speaking, coming up with solutions for our present and future predicaments. But I'm not optimistic. It's another sign of emotional intelligence that we will get out of this. We will survive this. Just practice what the government is saying, and somehow we will come out of this in one piece. I think I can go now to the question answer session. I was seeing the chats happening. They were going crazy. Let me see the chats.
I can help you ask the questions.
Go ahead.
All right. One was a comment when we were just starting out. But to everyone else, if you have a question, keep sending them to us. I will get to those questions as soon as we're able to exhaust one. I think the first one was from Helen. Thank you for hosting this session. Will you be able to share the presentation? Yes, we are able to share the presentation, even the recording of this session. So if you also want the recording of this particular session, we can share with you. Okay, the next one is, hey Dorothy, many did not seem to understand why toilet paper was bought in bulk. Those who were buying in bulk was because they were going to use the tissues as masks. There are enough videos showing how to create masks from toilet paper. Myself, I did not know that.
I honestly don't know that everyone was thinking like that. Not really.
No,
You aren't that everyone in America was thinking that this is going to be a mask. Okay, fair enough. Thanks for that. I didn't know that. Yes, carry on, Purity. Sorry.
All right, no problem. Moving on. Let me see. I had seen another question we had written. You were to explain what is an emotion and a mood, the difference between an emotion and a mood.
Okay. An emotion is more scientific. It's a scientific, it's like a scientific chemical reaction. It's the textbook definition of what a mood is. I think that is a better way of saying it. An emotion is the textbook way of saying what a mood is. Moods, if you say a mood is very ambiguous. Moods could mean how I'm feeling. Moods could mean what is motivating you, etc. It's more intelligent to say emotions as opposed to moods. I hope that makes sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're pretty, but one is more official than the other. Let me say that. Yes.
Okay.
The next question.
Okay. Do your relationships affect emotions? I remember there's someone who, Mariamu. Yes, I think emotions do affect. No, I think relationships do affect our emotions. For example, if you're around people who are abusive, we may tend to become aggressive in our behavior at some point, and even timid. Some tend to get angry. We can see some of this manifest in, say, a child who is around a nanny who beats them up or something.
That's, I think it comes under our past experiences or our environment. If you are in a relationship that is abusive, for example, That is your environment. I mean, that relationship creates an environment of tension. So you're constantly afraid. In fact, it's even those who are child psychologists, they'll tell you, if you can tell a child who has been emotional, and it's unfortunate that because people are so short-sighted and they're only seeing for now, they're busy abusing their wives and their family members, forgetting that for the children, it's going to affect them for the rest of their lives. This child is either going to be indifferent, they're going to be cold and broken, or they're going to be the kind of person who, these cycles, they repeat themselves. People who tend to come from violent families tend to end up becoming violent themselves unless you get counseling. So yeah, I agree with you. Relationships do affect our emotions. Yes.
All right.
The next one.
All right, from Catherine, I missed the other three factors that affect our emotions. She mentions environment, past experiences, the rest. I see Victoria Wango answered her. One is chemicals that we inject, and the relationships.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah. I move on to the next. Okay, from Wycliffe Omwansa, Dorothy, how do you deal with cunning clients, especially when selling to them? How do you deal with setbacks from such clients?
Cunning clients in the sense that they don't pay, or what does that mean? Cunning clients who are negative, who are saying sahi economy ni mbaya, or is that what you're talking about? The thing about clients are different. And now you've gone into a corporate environment where it's answering as if it's in a corporate setting. The thing about a client is you should not so much focus on their emotions, but meeting a certain need that they have. The problem with many salespeople, that we also do sales training, but the problem with many salespeople that I usually see is you focus so much on how the person is reacting or their objections, and forgetting that you're supposed to be meeting a need for this client. Now, if the person is saying that I don't have money, for example, think of a way of how to overcome that need, in the sense that your product ought to be so good, the way you market it to this person, it ought to be so good that they are able to overcome that need and still buy your product. This is sales training. I think maybe Purity, we shall look at it a bit further. It's a whole nother topic on its own. Sales and marketing is a whole nother thing. But thank you for that question. Maybe we can discuss it on the side to help you answer those questions a bit further. There's a whole psychology that comes with buying and selling. There's a whole psychology that comes with relating with customers. Yeah, we can discuss that later.
All right. Moving on to Sabina. I think this question we have answered you. What is the difference between emotions and mood? I hope that was answered clearly to you. We go to the next question by Peak Value Solutions Limited. How do we express our emotions, especially when there is a limited physical connection with our colleagues? Because sometimes we need to see the expressions, the expression to understand the emotions from other persons. How do we prevent misjudging others' emotions?
I like that question. I have worked as a telemarketer and a customer service agent before, over the phone. And the biggest challenge of working over the phone is always the fact that your only tool is your voice. That is it. And your voice is a powerful. Have you ever had someone, these days, there are things called podcasts, and there are podcasts, and there are ebooks. These days, if you want to buy a book like, say, Becoming Michelle Obama, she can actually, you listen to the book instead of reading it. There's power in a voice. There are sometimes, another example I can give you before I explain, there are sometimes my mother will call me and I'll tell her something. Even my father used to do that. He'd call and I'd speak to him and he says, "Hey, you're not okay." Now, this is the time for us to be able to learn how to harness our voice, use our voice to the maximum. There's even there's a training called voice coaching, where you learn how to express yourself through your voice. There are things such as inflection meaning expressing your emotions through your voice. This is a good time for us to start learning. You can pick up on certain tics and certain emotions from the person who you're listening to just by their voice. You can tell if someone is interested or they're not interested in buying your product. You can tell if someone is engaged or if they're not engaged. You can even tell someone's voice just from reading it. Now, this is a skill. This perhaps, you know what, perhaps this is another opportunity for us to start learning something new about people, that what someone says can say a lot about them even without you seeing them. There are a lot of ways of reading people. You can read people through their voice, you can read people through their tone, you can read people through their facial expressions, etc. This is a new area for you to learn. How does a blind person tell that someone is beautiful? You know, there's this musician called Stevie Wonder. I'm sure those of us who were born in the 70s, 80s, like that, you know who Stevie Wonder is. Stevie Wonder has the most beautiful, he's been married, I think, 6-7 times. You'll check the numbers on Google. But somehow he has the most beautiful wives. And there was a day I was watching an interview and Oprah was asking him, "How did you know that your wife was beautiful? You have such beautiful wives. How did you know she was beautiful?" He said, "I could read through their voice that they had a kind heart and they had a beautiful soul. It just happened that their face was also beautiful." So my answer is, it's a skill. You have to build it. How do you build a skill? The more you practice something, the better you get at it. So it's just a skill that you need to build. I hope that answers that question.
All right, moving on. I see people are saying your video is still. I don't know what's not happening on your end.
Is it? Oh.
Yes.
How about now?
I think it's still.
Yeah, it's still.
You can just turn off your camera and turn it on back again.
Okay. But the sound is on?
Yes, the sound is very clear.
Okay.
Yes,
well,
better now.
Okay.
Yes, better. We move on to the next question by Oppo F7. Enlighten on a situation where one has all the characteristics of EI, but they cry or they tear more frequently. What makes them cry when they have all these things together?
There's nothing wrong with crying. I was watching a seminar the other day on anxiety. You know, this whole COVID thing, there's so many psychologists psychiatrists and psychologists are actually making a lot of money right now because people are anxious. And the psychologist actually said, do not be afraid to cry. Think about it. In comparison to punching someone in the face, what are some emotional reactions? Some people drink, some people become violent, some people become abusive, etc. Of all these reactions, she said, the healthiest one is actually crying. Maybe perhaps this person should be able to hold it in. I mean, it would be weird if the person is going into meetings and they're crying. Then you see something happening and you cry. But crying is not a sign of lack of emotional intelligence. It's actually a very healthy outlet. If they cry too much, like all the time, like day and night, okay, that is different. But it's a healthy outlet. Maybe the challenge with the women women find it easier to cry than men. I don't know if the person who is asking is a man. An African man will generally find it difficult to cry. I mean, they don't understand it. They don't understand how does this happen, and then you start crying. But it's a very healthy outlet. If you need to cry right now, find a closet. If you are anxious about something, cry. It's very soothing, it's very healing. That's why the mechanism was put there in the first place. If you're not utilizing your tears, yeah.
All right.
Cry.
Okay. Moving on. Venat, your thoughts on meditation and affirmation? What are your thoughts, Dorothy, on meditations and affirmations?
Meditation and affirmation, it's just that we didn't have time to discuss it. 100% for it. Meditation and affirmations are very important. Part of when it was one of the things that I was to mention when we were talking about practicing emotional intelligence. It is under motivating yourself. Some people get motivated by meditation. 100% do it. There are some, like those who are, some Christians usually say they don't believe because there's different kinds of meditation. The Christian meditation might not be the same as the Buddhist meditation. But at the end of the day, whatever it is that you can find that will center you and bring you back to the present. The same Jay Shetty, by the way, was saying, one way of meditation, he said, he has the rule of 5. He said, when you are too stressed about your 5 things that you can see. So you count 1, 2, I can see a towel, I can see a computer, I can see a phone, like that. 4 things that you can touch. And then you touch 4 things. 3 things that you can taste, and then 2 things that you can, I'll have to check, but look up the rule of 5, Jay Shetty. Look it up, it's on YouTube, etc. He really recommends it. And he says that exercise is about bringing you back to the present and helping you to focus on what is good about what is there right now. So 100% I am for meditation and affirmations all day, every day.
All right. Moving on, I can see another question here from Washington Washira. He asks, do socialization and culture impact EQ?
It does. It is under your environment and your past experiences. If you come from a culture where men are not supposed to cry, for example, then you will look for different ways of expressing your emotions. If you come from a kind of environment where a culture where women are told to be quiet, or so, I once had something, and I don't know if you disagree. It's something worth thinking about. I once spoke to a Somali woman, and I asked her, how come when you people speak, you're so loud, you express yourself so loudly? And she said, especially as Somali women, because our voice is so silenced. If there's a Somali lady here, you can, this is purely what she told me. She said, as a Somali woman, our voices are usually so silenced that when we do speak, we take advantage of the opportunity to speak out as loud as possible. So your environment and your culture for sure are also factors.
All right. Moving on to Rafael Nyabala. How do you deal with burnout and stress resulting from rigorous exposure or pressure of work as a healthcare provider who can't think of leave, especially in this time of COVID-19?
Wow. My heart goes out to you guys for sure. Hey, the healthcare workers. I think and this and I'm imagining this is in Kenya. In Kenya, it's not even gotten to the levels of the States and Italy. This is where you have to take your own, care, your own health into your own hands. Find ways to take a break. Another thing about emotional intelligence is that you learn how to, as much as you know how to empathize, you also know how to break away from something which is causing you anxiety, if that makes sense. You're aware of your environment. Now, if you have been spending the whole day with patients, for example, if you get 10 minutes or 15 minutes to yourself, this is now where you spend time to talk to yourself, to motivate yourself, I see that these days they have those pressure balls. For example, you take that ball and you press it. You can decide to go for a jog. I see many people who usually go for jogs. You go around or you sit out in the sun, take a breath, breathe in, breathe out. Breathing exercises are also very important. You take a moment and, of course, don't go and breathe in a place where the disease is. You go and find a place, you go and find a place that is open and take a moment and breathe in, and you hold your chest. In fact, I wish we could do it right now. If you are in class, we would do some breathing exercises where you breathe for 3 and out for 4. I've seen that. You count 1, 2, 3, and then you breathe out 1, 2, 3, 4 or more. Breathing exercises.
All
That's
right.
the best I give you. I think it's a very unique environment. I would imagine that there are counselors also who are doing that, who are there for the medical staff. But that's the best advice I can give.
Okay, we are on top of the hour right now, so we'll take the 2 final questions that I can see here. So maybe in another 10 minutes, we should be winding up this webinar. One question is from AM. Are there practice exercises one can do to improve EQ? Let me ask even the other question. How do emotions affect someone's work performance?
Okay. The first one, the exercises, I think we have mentioned some of the exercises right now. We've said we can meditate, we read, we listen to music, uplifting music, obviously. Practice self-awareness, etc. Those are some of the exercises. Read books. I don't know why people don't read books anymore. Books can be very relaxing. Books can actually remove you from your present reality and transport you to somewhere else, that by the time you come back, have you ever read such a good book that by the time you finish reading it, hours have gone by and you realize, things have changed. Another thing to do is to exercise. Now that I've started exercising, there's a way you feel so uplifted. They say exercise releases healthy endorphins that enhance your mood. They bring about a positivity in your mood. They make you better in general. Those are some of the things that you need to practice. And do research. I mean, my list is not exhaustive. There's so much material out there that can help you to learn new things on how to balance your emotions. What was the second question?
It was for the health workers. They are exposed to, let me just find the question again.
Wasn't for the health workers. There was a second question.
Okay, how to deal with burnout and stress. You've answered that one. You've also answered the one on what activities or how can one improve their EQ, the practices. Are there practice exercises one can do to improve their EQ? Okay, one final question. Oh, no. There was another one actually. How do emotions affect someone's work performance?
How do emotions affect someone's work performance? This emotional intelligence thing, it's even getting to the point where when you join companies these days, especially when you're joining management, they give you a test to check your emotional intelligence. Why?
You can be the most brilliant person. Remember, when you are in the working environment, you're not working with stones. Even if you're working on a computer, you're not working with the computer alone per se. You're working with the computer, but you're working with people. The reason why emotional intelligence is important in the workplace is because it creates a healthier environment to work in. It builds teamwork. It enhances teamwork in the place of in the environment. It helps you grow as a person. If you're a person who is only brilliant, but you don't know how to manage your emotions. Imagine if you're a person who is emotionally unstable. Then it means if you are depressed tomorrow, I once had a friend who was like that. She suffered a bit from depression. So she would wake up, she'd drive to the office, and then she'd refuse to come out of the car. She'd say, I'm depressed. And the whole day, she'd lock herself in the car. She'd completely just refuse to work with other people. Eventually, she got fired. In fact, they even say you would rather be high on emotional intelligence and low on intelligence, on IQ. Your EI would rather be high and your IQ below, because if your emotional intelligence is high, it means that you're someone who can be taught. You're a teachable person. But if you're a person who you're emotionally unstable, you are not trainable, you're not teachable. So yeah, those are the benefits of emotional intelligence in the workplace. The reason why we didn't discuss it is because the point of my presentation today was how to manage it during the COVID-19 period. We usually do another presentation for corporates, which is much more elaborate, and we can discuss it after quarantine ends, God willing.
All right. One final question from Paul Tanui. How can a leader maintain his or her EQ at this level, at this time of low business generation, redundancies at this time of COVID-19 effectively?
Mm-hmm. Just like everyone else, I think there are some things that you can manage and there are things that you can't. There are things which you have under control and there are things that you don't. The things that you can control them, handle them 100%. The things that you cannot, especially during times like this, be as honest with yourself and your employees as much as possible and let them know that during this time we are unable to handle this, and this. Another thing I have discovered, especially with many leaders, is don't be afraid to seek advice. You know, this is why you need to form forums of. I know that the boys squad, the one which Bob Collymore had, he had a squad of guys who I'm sure they didn't just sit and talk about women and alcohol. I'm sure they sat together and they had a meeting of their minds and they'd ask each other, what can I do about this and this? As a leader, you have to have a group of people that are able to advise you and you are able to bounce ideas off of. They say it's lonely at the top, which is kind of true, but at the same time, you cannot succeed by yourself. You have to have the right people around you who are able to make you a better person. Great leaders are not necessarily great because they are the smartest person in the room. Great leaders are great because they know how to pick the right people to surround them.
All right.
Yeah. So don't die alone. Engage with other leaders.
Okay, Dorothy, I don't know if you have time for one more question.
I do.
Okay, how do we support employees who are struggling homeschooling their kids? That is from Melvin's T.
Mm-hmm. Those who are homeschooling, I can speak about where I work. What the university did, because of course we are doing online teaching, what they did was they sought out I think they spoke to Telcom, and they asked them if they can give them subsidized bundles, to help them to teach. There are those. I think the biggest challenge about teaching online is the internet aspect. That is the main issue. There are all these options out in the market. If you can just source and do some research, you'll be able to find something which is cheaper. There is no cheap way of getting out of this necessarily. At some point, you will have to spend a bit of something extra to help people get out of this. It's a crisis. There's something called crisis management. And part of crisis management is that there is some money that you will have to spend a bit extra, maybe to subsidize the lecturers for them to be able, not the lecturer, the parents, for them to be able to buy extra bundles, or maybe you come up with a package. All of these things, explore your options as much as possible, and also speak to them. I don't know, you can also maybe create a forum for yourself on your organization where your staff members, your employees are able to log on to that website and get material for their children. That's another option. This is the time for creativity. Options are many. Do research and find out. I hope that helps.
All right, we come to the end of this particular session. Very good feedback we're getting. I'll read a few of the feedbacks. Jerry, great and timely presentation from Victoria. Great presentation, appreciated. Great session from Oppo F1S. Awesome, this was awesome. Lavuna Galaxy A20S. From Sharon, very timely session. Looking forward to more sessions like this. Anxiety is real during this COVID-19 season. From Boniface, very refreshing at this point. Thank you for the presentation. So thank you very much to everyone who was able to join us for this particular presentation. We have another webinar coming up next week on Wednesday at the same time. On your screen right now is our contact information. Feel free to reach out to us, drop us an email, give us a call, follow us on social media. Just see what we are doing in this time that we are a bit slow on things. Also, if you've not left us with your email address, kindly do so that you are able to get this presentation, and also you're able to get the EQ assessment test. We also have another. We are organizing with organizations so that you can create your own personalized webinars within your organizations and your teams. So if this is something that you could be interested in, talk to us as well. Let us organize a webinar on this topic or on any other topic of your choice. Then we will be able to discuss with your team within your own organization. So thank you very much. Dorothy, thank you very much. That was very insightful. I believe every one of us is walking away with something they had not known before. I'll encourage all of us to continue with the personal awareness journey, because the more aware we become of ourselves, the more emotional intelligent we can be. So until next time, without much further ado, I'll call this session to an end. Engage us, feel free, drop us an email, give us a call, join us on social media. Let's keep this conversation going. So for those of you who have left your emails, we'll share this all this information as soon as possible, immediately after this presentation. Thank you very much.